Welcome back, YouTube. Today, I'm going to tell you a story of how, by starting a new factory in Austin, Texas for SpaceX, Elon Musk said F you to Gavin Newssom and California government. Let's start with what actually happened. About a week ago, it was announced that SpaceX will be opening a new factory in Austin for producing consumer-facing devices. Everywhere in the media, this was interpreted that SpaceX will be using that facility to manufacture satellite dishes for the Starlink system. Currently, SpaceX outsources that job, and it costs them between $1,000 and $2,000 to get those satellite dishes manufactured. That's what their cost is. Let's unpack a little bit what a satellite dish is. It's specifically the satellite dish that SpaceX uses. Technically, it's called a phased array antenna, meaning that it has a whole bunch of small antennas inside, so it can pick up signal from a whole bunch of satellites to give you fast internet. It is also said that SpaceX will use this to manufacture its own routers. This is the device that creates your Wi-Fi, or where you plug in your Ethernet cable so you can actually receive the internet signal from the satellite dish. On its face, this isn't a big deal, right? What we have is SpaceX is trying to bring manufacturing of those devices in-house instead of outsourcing them because it's seeing huge demand for its services. The constellation and the network itself is very successful so far. It's producing great results. It's working as intended, and there is no reason for SpaceX to be paying $1,000 to $2,000 to some other company where they can bring something in-house. They've shown that they can manufacture stuff much cheaper than what it would cost them if they paid somebody else for the same service. Now, what does this have to do with California? Well, what's in a satellite dish, phased array antenna, or in a router? Essentially, a whole bunch of computer chips, motherboards, and so on. Why would SpaceX want to build those things in Texas instead of in California? Let's see what SpaceX has in California now and what SpaceX has in Texas and in other places. In California, SpaceX is building the Falcon 9 rockets. All of its design team is based in Hawthorne, California. They're building their satellites in Washington State, and they're testing their new program, Starship, in Boca Chica, Texas. Now, when you build a phased array antenna, when you're building routers, you have two choices generally. Choice number one, build it where your engineers are, in this case, California. Or choice number two, just design it and send it off to China so they can build it for you. This is basically what Apple does with the iPhones. Now, the logical choice for SpaceX would have been to open a facility in California. That's where all the chip designers are. That's where all the software engineers are. That's where the whole talent pool resides. Silicon Valley is known basically for that. It has a whole bunch of software and hardware engineers where they can get your stuff done. Now, SpaceX chose to go to Austin, Texas. And what I'm here to tell you is, I believe the main reason why Elon Musk decided to do that is to give one big middle finger to California government, led by Gavin Newssom, and to start a new hub for Elon Musk companies in Texas. Now, I believe his original plan must have been that this hub would be in California. He already had Silicon Valley designed for Teslas. That's where his headquarters is. That's where Neuralink is. That's where all of his software engineers are. And then he had big presence in Southern California, in Hawthorne, for SpaceX, and Fremont factory basically in between for Tesla vehicles. I think based on the events that happened last year during the pandemic, where he was cursed out by a San Diego lawmaker, where the health department played games with him, not allowing him to reopen the Fremont factory even though it was deemed essential by the federal government. I believe this is Elon Musk keeping his promise, where he tweeted that what's going on in Fremont is essentially the last straw. He's gonna stop new investments in California and slowly move out all of his manufacturing and basically his labor force out of California. There's a big confluence of things that happened since then. A California exodus is happening. Software engineers that live in Silicon Valley or in Southern California have to trip over human feces and homeless people to get to work or home, and their money goes less and less, even though software engineers make really high salaries. When you pay $4,000 a month rent for a 2-bedroom apartment, even that is becoming problematic. On the other side, what you have in Texas is a government willing to work with him, allowing him to build a giant car factory in record time, allowing him to essentially take over a whole small town, Boca Chica, in South Texas, so he can get his Starship program up and running as fast as possible with a minimum amount of bureaucracy tripping over the process. So he had to make a choice. Where is he going to put his new factory for satellite dishes and routers? Somewhere in the United States. I believe if this choice had to be made a year ago, it would have been California. From now on, I believe all of Elon Musk companies will start investing and moving their production, software design, and hardware design out of California. Let me give you a few examples. The facility that SpaceX operates in Hawthorne is to build Falcon 9 rockets. Well, Falcon 9 are already done as far as design process goes, and at the same time, they have been planned to go obsolete as soon as Starship becomes operational. Now, Starships are going to be built in Boca Chica, where, quoting Elon Musk, he's building a Starship factory. So, essentially, the facility in Hawthorne will become redundant, and they will have a choice to make. Do we keep those people busy there, or do we move them to an area with much lower cost of living, where they can work as hard as they want to, where they don't have any bureaucracy, and more importantly, as a SpaceX employee, and like in all of Elon Musk's companies, they get stock options. Now, why is this important for a software engineer getting stock options? Generally, this is how the process has been done all over high-tech companies in California. But now in California, we're talking about taxing unrealized gains in the stock market, which means if you get a stock option, SpaceX goes to make an IPO, and your stocks shoot up from, let's say, $50 to $150, then you're on the hook to pay taxes for $100 unrealized gains on your basically compensation package. Now, no sane person would choose to do that when they have the choice of not paying any tax in that regard by moving to Texas. So my theory is that basically the Falcon 9 facility in Hawthorne will be sunsetted relatively soon, as soon as Starship becomes operational. Furthermore, let's look at Fremont. Fremont is about 25-year-old factory that was refurbished by SpaceX to suit their needs in the beginning. Keyword here being in the beginning. Now, Tesla is becoming highly automated, highly efficient company for producing electric vehicles from scratch, meaning they make their own materials, they make their own batteries, they make their own chips, they even make their own glass, so they can have the lower cost of vehicles and the highest efficiency. Now, how is lower cost of vehicles and higher efficiency related to manufacturing anything in California, especially given the mood that California lawmakers are, that they want to keep taxing more and more and more? It doesn't jibe. So my theory is that all of the new investments Tesla makes for new production lines to Model 3, Model Y, future vehicles will not be made in California. Whether they're made in Texas or some other new gigafactory, it's not really the point. The point is they're not going to be made in California. Slowly, this factory will be sunsetted because it will become more and more a burden to Tesla due to it being inefficient, because it wasn't designed by Tesla. You've seen pictures and videos from the gigafactory in Shanghai, and you've seen pictures and videos from the factory in Fremont. The factory in Fremont is a hodgepodge of a whole bunch of buildings that Tesla has cobbled together and made as efficient as possible, and it's still nowhere near as efficient as what they have in China. And even China will be nowhere near as efficient as what Tesla will have in Germany and in Texas. So slowly, I believe all new investments will be made outside of California, and then slowly we'll see sunsetting production line by production line in California, to where they leave a small footprint for maybe manufacturing Model S and Model X vehicles. Maybe they will have some experimental facilities like the one they have for the new batteries, but they're not going to have new huge investments. Now, what does Elon Musk have to gain by moving all of his investments to Texas? First of all, he will create basically a mini Elon Musk Industrial Complex. The new factory that SpaceX is going to be building in Austin is essentially a chip manufacturing machine. Now, let's think, other than SpaceX, what other Elon Musk companies need a whole bunch of chips? Tesla needs chips for self-driving. Tesla needs chips for their batteries and solar panels. They also need chips for Neuralink, and of course for SpaceX satellites and satellite dishes. This basically means that they will reach enough volume to where manufacturing in-house starts making sense, and when you manufacture in-house, you can start manufacturing and designing in-house, just like Apple is doing with their own chip right now for the new Macs, which is basically beating Intel and AMD with a much more efficient and powerful chip. I believe this is what's going to happen with Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and the Boring Company. They're going to have a huge advantage due to the fact that they will have all of their chips designed to work for their products and manufactured by Tesla in the most efficient way. Now, all of this a year ago, I'm sure, was planned to be done in California, except maybe for the Gigafactory itself, simply because having that much workforce concentrated in one place, in California especially, becomes problematic from the standpoint of logistics, travel, traffic, and so on. Not such a big deal in Texas, though. Texas has a lot of land, a lot of open space, and very little bureaucracy. So this is why I think the announcement of the Austin factory for SpaceX is a big FU to California government and politicians from Elon Musk and his mini Elon Musk Industrial Complex, which is leaving California. Thank you. I really want to hear your opinion on that. Please leave a comment below. Hit the like button if you liked it. Hit the dislike button if you didn't like it. Have a great night.